So greetings of peace and love to each and everyone. And it's really wonderful that we are together once again to experience powerful energy, peaceful energy. And in behalf of the Bahrain Meditation Center, we'd like to acknowledge and welcome. Of course, we have this English group in this Zoom, and there is another Zoom with the Arabic translation with Sister Awatif translating. And of course, we have our free spirited soul with us joining to be able to make this light more peaceful and probably give us the experience of what we are supposed to have tonight, the inner strength, and of course, that inner power. So through the 6 months that we have been trying to deal with this challenge, we are all in by finding or either giving strength and support in varied ways. It can be through our family and friends, other people. It can be through science, technology. It can be through prayers and meditation and more. And in one way or another, within this experience that we have, there is something or another that had been probably made us better and had brought us a lot better in us. But yet the uncertainty of the situation we are all experiencing has become more and more real, uncertain. But yet, as we go through this experience, and we are going to go through it, also the situation points us to the truth, closer to the truth, that we all have something deep within us which can be the source of the inner strength and power to make us go through, to make us survive. And with us tonight is a powerful soul, Yogesh Sharda, to share his wisdom in finding and cultivating that inner strength. So thank you, Yogesh, for being with us again. So for those of you maybe first time to hear about Yogesh, brief introduction about Yogesh. Yogesh Sharda has been a student of Raja Yoga meditation for over 3 decades. While working in a practical and doable, while working as a personal development trainer in the business world, he infuses spirituality in a practical and doable way. In this regard, he always makes himself available to participate in international and local activities in various fields because he's got to learn and he's got a lot to give as well. Currently, Yogesh is based in Istanbul, coordinating the activities of the meditation center in Turkey. Although this is not the first time that Yogesh speaks to us, he would always, tonight I'm sure, and every time we get to hear from him, he would always bring about and bring out newness, inspiration, and motivation for us to go through life with ease and with unconquerable faith. With his cheerfulness, his lightness, and great wisdom, Yogesh will enable us to dive deep down in ourselves to find and unleash the inner strength. So, Brother Yogesh, so welcome, and it's really great to hear from you once again. So, thank you, brother.
Hello, thank you, and good evening. Can I just check that you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, very clear.
Okay, great. So big thanks to the Bahrain Meditation Center for this chance to be with you again. And big thanks for such a warm and generous introduction. I hope I'm worthy of it, and I hope I can deliver something tonight, which my aim is and my hope is that will be useful for you in your practical lives. And as was mentioned, my own inner journey started quite some time ago when I was a child. And of course, when one begins to pay attention to the inner world, life becomes very interesting because you realize that there is an outer world of academic life, career, travel, and so on. But also, there is the inner world of our thoughts, our emotions, our beliefs. And most people give more attention to the outer world and scant attention to the inner world. And I believe due to this imbalance, we have the stresses and strains in the world today, and people don't have the inner strength to be able to maintain their peace and happiness as we pass through challenging times. And yes, as was also mentioned, the last 6 months or so since the global COVID situation started, there have been new challenges for people. And to get through those challenges, we do need inner strength. So we'll be exploring what we mean by inner strength, how to cultivate it, how to recognize my level of inner strength. Excuse me. So for me, indicators of having inner strength are the following. One, for example, is having the ability to tolerate, whether it's tolerating people or tolerating situations or even tolerating one's own self, one's own mistakes, one's own weaknesses. Tolerance is a sign of inner strength. Another sign of inner strength is the ability to forgive. Indeed, it was said, forgiveness is a quality of the strong. The weak cannot forgive. A quote from Gandhi. Plus, it is also said that a sign of inner strength, a sign of inner power, is the ability to give love. Dadi Prakashmani was a great spiritual icon. She said only a powerful soul can give love. And when we are weak, we need to take. So, an indicator of inner strength or inner power is the ability to love. And love, of course, is a huge umbrella term which includes so many things like patience and understanding and letting go, all of that. And there's one more I would add to the list, and that is that a person who has inner strength is well balanced in self respect and humility. Humility is a power, a strength, and not a weakness. But when that humility is coming from emerging from true self respect, then it makes the other also feel like being humble. And so we can check our level of inner strength by how we look at life, how we deal with adversity, how we handle our own selves, how quickly I am able to lift myself out of a bad mood, what is my relationship with failure, and so on. And also, the word cultivate is very interesting. Usually, the term cultivation is used when it refers to cultivating and preparing land for growing crops. So, when we say cultivate inner strength, it's actually asking us to look at our inner landscape and understand what is going on within my own consciousness. And the inner journey is one which leads us to great discoveries. Indeed, the Greek philosophers reminded us, Aristotle talked about this, that the beginning of all wisdom is to know the self. Socrates commented, the unexamined life is not worth living. And so it's high time, I would say it's the call of time now to bring understanding the self and caring for the inner self to the very top of our priority list. And it shouldn't be that once we are in a post-COVID situation, that we go back to our old routines, our own lifestyles, where generally people are busy either in making money or in entertainment. But taking care of the mind or the inner self, I believe, has to be the number one thing in life. And why? Because when your mind is your best friend, when your mind is working with you, when your mind is in alignment with you, the whole of life is experienced as a game. So let's explore some of these things tonight. And I'd also like to introduce and have a couple of meditations with you so we can experience what this inner strength is all about. I also have a few visuals which I've prepared to show you. And as you can see, I've spent a huge amount of money to prepare these pieces of paper for you. And I think you can see this one. And this tells us why inner strength is important. So we have this formula here of our relationship with stress. And stress, of course, can be experienced in so many different ways. And usually what people say when they experience stress is they identify stress causes in their lives. And they make a list of, because I have stress in this situation, I need to change my situation. For example, there's too much stress at work, I need to change my job. There's too much stress where I live, it's too noisy, too crowded, I need to change my city or my neighborhood. Or there's too much stress with my wife, my husband, I need to change that. So we look to make some kind of change when it comes to stress. So we identify these pressure related situations and we try to change them. But of course, you can't make major changes suddenly. It may not be possible for you to move house or change job. If you can, that's great. But there's something else that we all can do, and that is we can all increase our resilience. So dealing with stress, you can reduce the pressure, but also you can increase your resilience. And increasing resilience is something that each person can do. There are two main components of resilience. One of them is increasing your inner strength. And this is why when we work on improving the inner strength, your relationship with yourself improves, your relationship with people improves, your relationship with life improves. And how do you do that? What is involved in increasing one's own inner strength? Well, there are two things involved in increasing the strength, and for that I'm going to show you another little formula here. And that's to do with the equation for inner strength. In fact, the equation for anything, even for machinery, and it's to do with effort divided by waste. Now, if you make more effort to do something, but the waste that you also produce is the same, then your output or your inner strength will increase just a little. And mostly what I notice happens in people's lives, we pay attention to doing the right thing more, which is good, but we pay little attention to doing the wrong thing less. In other words, we waste a lot of our inner strength, we waste a lot of energy due to unnecessary behaviors. And largely, that energy is wasted due to excessive speaking and excessive thinking. Now, consider, for example, the words that we speak every day. And how many words do you speak every day? And just ask yourself, how many of those words are in fact necessary or useful words? What I find in most big cities is people speak very fast. And one of the reasons they speak fast is because other people keep interrupting them. And so it's like this is how we listen today. We, in a conversation between two people, one person will say something, the first few words, and we listen to the first few words of what that person says. And the rest of that time that person is speaking, the other one is busy preparing his or her response. And this creates tension in the mind of the speaker, which causes the speaker to speak more quickly to get the words out before the interruption comes in. And so poor listening has created this scenario where we speak more than necessary and we speak in a state of tension. I find that generally there are very few people who are good listeners. I would say most people listen to give a response rather than listen to truly understand what someone is telling me. So let's look at our own selves. Can I be more economical with my words? Can I be more economical with my thoughts? Can I be more essenceful? Say, for example, you would normally use 50 words to say something to someone. Are you able to speak the same thing? Can you give the same message in 30 words or in 25 words? And if you can, then you have saved the energy of those 25 or 20 words which you did not speak. And when you do that, then naturally this energy or this inner strength, it accumulates in the mind. And that is known as the power of silence, the power of inner strength. We can start with words and pay more attention to our words, but then also as meditators, we can take it to the next level where we pay attention to our thoughts. And this is really what the life of a meditator is all about, paying attention to the quality of thoughts I produce. Now, we all know that when you overthink, which I consider the worst habit of the human race, when you overthink mentally and emotionally, you feel tired. You get exhausted. You may not have done much in the day, but if your mind has run a marathon of overthinking, you feel exhausted, can't concentrate. And when there is that mental exhaustion, then patience level goes down, tolerance level goes down. We make small things into big things, and then we generate the emotion of fear inside ourselves. So the same thing applies to our thoughts. Instead of having 20 thoughts about something, can I just have 10 thoughts and then apply a full stop to my thinking? Now it's my mind. My mind is thinking, So my mind should be in my control. When we have waste thoughts and the associated wasteful emotions, it's up to me to control them. It's up to me to be the boss of my mind and learn to discipline my own mind. This, I believe, is the most important thing in life, learning to observe, understand, and make my mind into my own friend. And hence, it is said that those who build meditation into their lifestyle, for such a person, there is no such thing as a problem. Why? Because when we learn to conserve our mind's energy, we also change our perspective of life. Now, when it comes to meditation, I find there are two main categories of people. One is those who meditate, and the second is those who are meditators. And so, which category would you fall in? What's the difference between these two? So, many people do meditation as a way to de stress, as a way to relax and to calm down. And for some, this may be enough. But to be a meditator means it's a lifestyle. And that means as I go through day to day life, one part of me is naturally vigilant and checking to see what kind of thoughts am I producing? Am I overthinking? Am I wasting this precious, precious fuel of thought power? It's a natural awareness through the day where you're checking yourself. It's not forceful, it's not heavy, but it's a natural awareness because meditation is a lifestyle for such a person. Think, for example, of an athlete who wishes to win the gold medal in the races. Now, for her or for him, eating healthy is a lifestyle. Such a person will naturally be aware what I eat, when I eat, how much I eat. There'll be a natural awareness. Why? Because for an athlete, maintaining optimum weight is important. Now, it's the same for a meditator. A meditator is like a mental athlete, and we want to make sure we are not wasting our thought energy. And therefore, this is one of the first principles in maintaining inner strength, cultivating inner strength, is to build a routine into your life. A routine whereby you're able to take care of your mind's energy. So here is a suggestion for a daily routine. 3 simple things to build into your life, and I'm also aware many of you already would be doing these things. But the first thing is to look at how we wake up in the morning. Now, it tends to be the case that when we wake up, we immediately engage with life. We connect with life and we start thinking about the day, or we start talking to people in the house, or of course, we engage with our phones, our mobile phones. And it seems they've taken over our lives. For some people, the mobile phone is as important as an internal organ. And some may choose to give up a kidney rather than to lose their mobile phone. It's had such an important place in our lives. But more important than that technology is the technology of the mind. So, suggestion that when one wakes up in the morning, get fresh, but before you engage with life, first spend some time in charging the battery of the soul. spend some time, and if it's new for you, even just 3 minutes, 2 minutes, just to dwell in that thought. I am a peaceful being. Experience the peace of the soul first thing in the morning. And I call this, as I mentioned, as charging your soul battery. And the mathematics is this, that if you take care of your inner world first thing in the morning, it will support you through the day when there are challenges and there are difficulties, whether it's at work or in the traffic or at home. It's a science of how the day works. The morning experience affects the rest of the day. If you have a good, solid experience of peace first thing in the morning, you will notice this stability with you when you are being challenged, when normally you would panic or get upset or get angry or get anxious. The morning experience will support you. So, what to do, how to do it, before coming to the other aspects of the routine for the day, let's do a little exercise now to visit and to experience this inner peace. So, this is a beginner's exercise. It's called a creative visualization. So, I would suggest, if possible and comfortable for you, try and have your back straight, your feet on the floor if you're sitting on a chair. And I'll just guide you through a very simple creative visualization. And this is known as the star of peace. And if you wish, you may just close your eyes for these next 3 minutes or so. Okay, so we sit relaxed and we take these few minutes to relax the body and to relax the mind. And so I choose just to be with my own self. I withdraw my attention from the outer world and I bring it to myself. And now just bring your attention up towards your face. And bring your attention to the center of your forehead. And here, at the center of the forehead, picture a tiny star of peaceful light. Just visualize this very wonderful, sparkling star of peaceful light in the center of your forehead. And from this tiny star, waves of peaceful energy radiate throughout my whole body, sending peace and healing energy throughout the body. this beautiful star of peaceful light in the center of the forehead. This is me. This is I, the inner self. This is I, the being of peace. This is I, the eternal soul. I, the soul, I am peace. I, the soul, I am light. I, the soul, I am eternal. Just be with this image of the star of peace in the forehead for 1 minute. Okay, thank you. So I'm hoping you feel a bit more centered, a bit more focused, a bit more peaceful after that. And I would say this should become part of our daily lives. Start the day by being, charging the soul battery. It really changes everything. And the second thing I would add to this is during the day, take a few moments to go and visit that still point within you. And some of you will know that this is a practice that we know as traffic control for the mind. So imagine the thoughts in your mind are like the cars in the road. And the question arises, how is the traffic up here? How is the traffic in the mind? Are the thoughts flowing in an orderly, coordinated fashion? Or is there a traffic jam in the mind? Now we know that when there is a traffic jam, then a lot of time and energy is wasted. And one car parked in the wrong place can block 100 other cars. In the same way, one useless thought, one waste thought, one negative thought can block the flow of my happiness, block the flow of my creativity. And it happens during the day. Things happen, stuff happens. You may get a little irritated, you may get upset, you may misunderstand something, or somebody may misunderstand you, and it can generate some waste thoughts. And this is why traffic control is a practice where you try to stop for 2 or 3 minutes. And if you can physically stop and sit down, it's the best, of course. But you just visit that space of peace inside you. You go and experience that star of peace. And what's useful is to fix times in your day for this, according to your daily routine. So one suggestion is one should be mid-morning, around 10:30 or so. Then let's say every couple of hours if you can, around 12:30, then maybe 2:30 or 3, depending on your daily schedule. But if you find times which work for you according to your schedule and you stick to them every day, that routine is going to enable you to save a lot of your thought energy, which is the same thing as your inner strength. If it's new for you, I would suggest try it every day for 1 week and see how you feel at the end of that week. And generally, most people say, I feel a lot more in control of my emotions. The things I used to find difficult before, for example, facing a particular individual or having the willpower to do or not do something, or maintaining your stability when you're faced with a challenging situation, you find you have the power to be able to do that, whereas previously you struggled. This is all the result of building these silent moments into our day to day life. And we know it is essential in the times we are in now and the times ahead to pay more attention to this. So, the morning soul battery charge experience. Second is the traffic control during the day. The third suggestion for the routine is to know how to put the mind to sleep. Now, again, in the modern day life, we have forgotten the wisdom of the past when life was more simple. And it used to be in the past, and possibly still now in some places, where parents would read a nice story to a child at the time of sleeping. And there was some sense in that, that if it's a nice story, a pleasant story, the child will sleep well and have good dreams. You wouldn't read a horror story to a child, would you, at the time of sleeping? In the same way, the mind is also your child. And it's important to put it to sleep properly, so then unnecessary waste thoughts are not going on even in the sleep. And so one of the things I was told when I was a youngster growing up is think like this, that see the whole of life as a theater play, as a performance. And when it comes to the end of the day, think like this, that for today, the curtain has come down on today's performance. Today's drama, today's performance is over. Multiply everything by 0 and empty the mind of the thoughts of the day. So whether you did something amazing or whether you did something ridiculous, whether you were praised, whether you were criticized, whether you were the center of attention, or whether you were ignored by everyone, today's play, today's drama is over. Give yourself permission to put it into the past. Give yourself permission to empty the mind of the thoughts of the day. Allow the mind to be light and then go to sleep. If the mind is not given this kind of care and treatment, then what happens is unprocessed thoughts then get processed during the sleep, and the next morning you wake up with the same thoughts you had the night before. Plus, the mind becomes burdened emotionally when we don't let go of the thoughts and the scenes and scenarios of the day. Think, for example, of how you would close a computer. You wouldn't just yank the plug out of the wall, would you? But there is a process. You have to log out, you have to sign out, you have to switch off. There is a step by step process. And so we learn to respect technology if we want it to work properly. It's the same with the mind. If I want my mind to be peaceful, if I want to own my happiness, if I want to have willpower and tolerance, I need to respect the mind, the technology of the mind. And so these simple practices are all forms of respect for the mind. Now, talking about technology, whenever you buy any kind of machine, whether it's a phone or a car or a fridge or anything, but with that, you get also a user manual. That user manual tells you how to maintain the machine and how to use it correctly. And what is bizarre is we don't have a manual for the mind. How are we supposed to think? How much thinking is enough? How should you feel, for example, when you fail at something? Consider this. What is your relationship with failure? Because it's another area where excessive thinking happens and we waste a lot of the mind's energy. We waste a lot of inner strength. Now, can you remember the first thing that you failed at? Yeah? No. I can probably remember for you, and it's probably the same for me. I would say the first thing you failed at probably was trying to walk. And you must have fallen down 5 times, 50 times, many more times. But each time you fell down, what do the parents do? They pick you up and they say, okay, try again, try again. Although the baby may not want to try again, but they make the baby try. They make the baby stand up. Come on, learn until you learn how to balance, until you learn how to use the legs and the arms properly. And so that kind of encouragement helps the baby to get over the failure. Now, imagine if parents said something different to the baby the first time it falls. If they were to say, well, I don't know, you fell down. This walking business is not really for you, is it? Don't waste your time trying to walk. I mean, you're obviously no good at walking. Just forget it. So if they said that, then we'd all still be crawling on the floor, even as adults. But this positive encouragement is there. In the same way, the mind is also your child. When we fail at something, anything, whether it's something like an exam or a driving test, or it's we fail at controlling our temper, we fail at in terms of losing my peace of mind or getting upset. Those can be termed as failures too. I mustn't berate myself. I mustn't write myself off as a failure. I mustn't get disheartened. But what's important is positive self-talk. And it's very important to do that quickly, where I tell myself, okay, I accept in this situation I didn't go as well as I wanted, didn't go as I planned, but first thing, what can I learn? What is the learning potential for me from this situation? Identify that quickly. 2, give yourself permission to forget the situation. No need to keep thinking about it over and over again. That's where the inner strength is lost. I have permission to forget the situation. Number 3, move on. Take the lesson and move into the future, but let the scenario go. Let the situation go. And I find this is extremely useful because I was one who used to keep thinking, if I didn't do something well or I failed, it would really bother me. And I thought I was supposed to feel that way. But when I observed senior meditators, some very spiritual people, I saw they didn't waste time doing that. Even if they did something which wasn't the way it wanted or they made a mistake, they didn't waste time feeling guilty. Quickly identify, okay, this is where I went wrong, or this is what I need to pay attention to, and move on. Apply the full stop, take the lesson, carry the lesson into tomorrow. And this will help you to not just stop the leakage of the waste of your inner power, but actually it gives you more power when you are engaged in positive thoughts and constructive thoughts. So that's the suggestions for the day. So one is this, build this routine into your day-to-day life. Second is really to know yourself, which we've also been touching upon. Let me show you another little diagram here. Okay, I'm going to have to explain this to you. So here we are. Um, so this over here is scenario 1, as you can see. So here's a simple question. Here is you, and here is some kind of problem. Who's bigger? All right, so no prizes for guessing. You are bigger. Sorry, the problem is bigger. So scenario 1, the problem is bigger. Scenario 2, here is you, and here is the problem. Who's bigger now? You are bigger. But what has changed from scenario 1 to scenario 2? The problem is the same size. The problem hasn't changed, but you have changed. You have grown. So before you were like this, now you are like this. And because you have grown, therefore, this problem is no longer a big problem for you. It still exists, but because you are now bigger, you don't see it with fear or trepidation or anxiety. This is very important. Although it's very simplistic, but it reminds us of the theory of relativity. And one of the things I was told, again, when I was a kid growing up, that the way to deal with any adverse situation is to first of all stabilize yourself in your self-respect. First, be in that thought. I am a peaceful soul. I am a powerful soul. My peace of mind and my happiness is my personal property. Root yourself, dwell in that thought. And when you do that, it's like you are making yourself stronger and bigger and more confident. Then, when you look at the problem, the issue at hand, you feel, okay, it's something to deal with. I will work it out. I'll deal with it. It won't give you angst or fear or tension because you are stronger than the situation. The tendency that most have is as soon as a problem comes in front, we launch into trying to solve it. And often we make things worse by thinking too much. I have this problem, I have this issue, what should I do? How can I handle it? And the problem begins to live inside my own mind. And then my peace of mind suffers, my happiness suffers, and I feel I don't know what to do. How can I deal with this? Physically, too, of course, there may be complications. So before solving problems, first let me solve myself. Solving myself means let me be in the right awareness. Let me have the right attitude and the right vision towards the situation that is in front of me. Let me root myself in my self-respect. Then let me see what the situation is. And again, I've observed this, in some highly developed spiritual people. I may go to them with an issue or a problem. First thing they'll say is, be calm, be still. Now tell me what's the issue. And then when you share it, then you feel, actually, there's no issue. There's no problem. I was just generating it in my mind because a weak mind generates problems. A weak mind makes something into what it's not. A powerful mind, a stable mind, can see a solution. We know what it's like, when you're racing around trying to find something in your house because the mind is rushing or is panicky. It's right on the table in front of you, but you don't see it because the mind is racing and panicky. But when you sit down, have a moment of calm, then the mind is able to see properly through the eyes and you begin to notice things. It's the same with anything in life. If the mind is still, the mind is at peace, I can actually see things better, I can hear things better. A still mind really is the key to finding solutions or to making things which I thought were impossible into possible. And so, really, to know the self and understand how the thoughts are working, this is a big part of maintaining the inner strength. I'll just touch on one or two more things, then we'll end with a little meditation. Another important thing is to pay attention to the company that you keep. Think of the people that you choose to hang around with. Now, there is a saying, and I think it's probably in every language, that the company you keep will color you, color your thinking, color your values, color your attitude. And so you may not be able, of course, to control, where you live or where you work, but it's important to try to find company of spiritually minded individuals who are also interested in these aspects of inner personal development. And this is one of the reasons why we have, for example, Bahrain Meditation Center or the other meditation centers around the world, a place where people can gather, meditate together, discuss and share ideas of spiritual growth. And it'll really be like an injection of inner power to be in the company of those who also choose to speak of such things and support each other by sharing experiences, churnings, and realizations. If I'm through the day only having ordinary thoughts, or if I'm having to tolerate um, people's moods or people's behaviors, it's a drain on my internal energy. So I need to think, how can I build into my week, if not in my day, into my week, have such company which actually is going to elevate me and give me strength. Sometimes, to do these things of inner growth can be quite challenging for some. And that's where it's very obvious that we do need help. Doing anything challenging is easier when you're doing it with other people. Yeah? And therefore, it's recommended that to have powerful meditation, to have inspiration, come together with others in a group, even if it's just once a week, and encourage each other, feed off the atmosphere of meditation. And that's going to help you to do a lot more learning together rather than just by your own self. Okay, so these are some ideas about inner strength, and just one more, which I'm going to now also touch on in the little meditation, is about connecting to the source of power. So, whatever name we have for that source, but that also is something which is going to enable the best within me to come up to the surface. So, I'm going to do a little meditation now, all about connecting to the source of peace, the source of light, the source of power. And then we'll see if anybody has any comments or questions. Okay, so once again, I ask you to, if you can, sit with your back straight, feet on the floor. And so in this exercise, we have two main parts. One is called the journey inward, and the other is the journey upward. So the journey inward begins with the question, who am I? I know that in my daily life, I play so many roles. I carry various labels. I have responsibilities and I wear masks. But who am I behind the labels? Who am I behind my roles and my responsibilities? When I look in the mirror, I see the reflection of my body, my face, but there is more to me than simply this. And so I bring my attention to the center of the forehead, and I become aware of myself, the eternal soul, the inner being of peaceful energy. Peace is my personal property. Peace is my real nature. And now let me turn my thoughts to the one who is known as the source of peace, the ocean of peace, the ocean of light, the ocean of love, the supreme energy, the one who is called the true friend of the soul, the real guide, the liberator, the protector, the one who knows me better than I know myself, the one who accepts me as I am, the one who only wants to see me in my highest potential. let me link my thoughts to this Supreme Friend, to the source of all strength. And as I link my thoughts to this being, I'm able to draw that energy, that strength into my own self too. And my mind feels empowered, silent, still. This is the return journey to true self-respect, the return journey to being whole once again. And when I look at life from this perspective, everything is just a game, just a play, just a theater. I observe, I play my part, and yet I am free. Okay, thank you.
So, Brother Yogesh,
Yes,
with 1 hour and almost 15 minutes to go, really, I think everyone has been charged. No, the lines no have gone to the max. So it's truly very practical, and you have really given us something that we can always do as long as we keep the manual, as you said. No? We keep that technology going, using that technology. Yeah, brothers, really thank you so much. And we have some few questions, brother. Yeah,
okay.
okay. So one question that comes here is um, how to tolerate very self-centered people, especially the close associates. Some are too selfish and narrow-minded. So that's the
Yeah.
first question.
One thing to understand is, the human race is very spiritually disempowered today. So when we come across people with such personalities, first of all, I must not condemn them. I must understand that today the world is being ruled largely by ego and anger, whether it's something we see on the news or even in your daily life. Self centered, narrow minded, arrogant, obnoxious, condescending, all these things. So, this is the condition of the human souls today. But first thing for me is I must not take sorrow from another person. Okay, somebody else may be narrow minded, selfish, etc., etc. That's not good. But if I take sorrow from that, then that part is my responsibility. And usually we forget this, and we have a slogan in our study: don't give sorrow and don't take sorrow. If I take sorrow from someone, I will also want to give it back to them. So, one of the first rules of true spiritual self respect is this, that I may have to listen to people, maybe your boss, for example. So, you have to be there, you have to listen. But internally, I'm not going to absorb any sorrow from this person. And that's a practice. It comes with practice when you develop such a stable form of self-respect. You're listening to the words, but you're not allowing the negative vibes to enter you. It's a question of practice. And what helps to do that is what we call as the practice of soul consciousness. So try this, that when such a person is in front of you, first be aware of yourself as that star, peaceful star. Look at the forehead of that person as he or she is talking to you. I don't mean stare so that, they ask you what you're doing, but just be aware there is a soul there who is talking to me. And when you develop this soul to soul vision, it helps you to not be affected by people's attitude or negative vibrations. This is the thing to work on: soul conscious vision. It makes you emotionally very strong, very stable, very secure.
So thank you, brother. The next question is few tips on how to overcome our own habits, please.
And overcome our habits. Okay, of course, some habits are more deep, some are less deep. We need power to do that. So, two things are there, as with anything. One we've touched upon already is we need to spend more time in silence. We need to gather the energy of the soul by making meditation systematic, not when I feel like it, not when I've got time, but making it systematic. Through that, you develop power. Second thing is this, that when we want to overcome a habit, it's like, here is my habit, and here is my intellect. Habit is saying, do this, do this, do this. Intellect is saying, no, I shouldn't. So when we are controlled by our habits, my intellect does not have the strength to tell my habit, no, I'm not going to do this. The intellect has to be empowered. And two things are there in empowering the intellect. One, silence, as we said already. Second thing I would suggest is you take up study of some spiritual wisdom every morning. That can be according to your own understanding, but when you study something spiritually wise in the morning, could be about values or about virtues, read that, ponder over it, think about it. And this is called churning spiritual thoughts. When your mind and through the day, when you remain busy in churning high quality spiritual wisdom through the day, it makes your intellect more powerful. These two things, meditation and studying spiritual wisdom, these two things give power to your intellect. When your intellect has power, the next time your habit comes along, you'll have the strength to say, no, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm not going to be influenced by you. So, because the intellect is weak, it gets very easily influenced by the habit. So empowering the intellect is really also what internal spiritual growth is all about. And then you can make the decisions that you feel are right for you without being a slave of the habits.
So the next question, brother, is when closing the curtain and multiply our day by zero, is it advisable to influence our sleep journey by giving the mind a single elevated thought and let it go to sleep?
Our, did you say our sleep journey? Is that what it said?
Yeah. So it says
Hmm.
here, is it advisable to influence our sleep journey by
Hmm.
giving the mind a single elevated thought and let it go to sleep?
I mean, you could. Um, the thing is that at the time of sleeping, you want to, like, you know, slow things down rather than stimulate the mind. Um, so what I would suggest is, you're winding down for the day, so the mind experiences peace and silence, so that sleep becomes deep and restful. That would be my suggestion. Now, if you're having an elevated thought, of course, it's elevated thoughts are good, better than having waste thoughts. But even that thought may, stimulate the mind to be active, and then perhaps the sleep may not be as deep and restful. So that would be my thinking on this particular question.